So you're asking me, what is happiness? It's a good question. Well, you could define happiness as a constant state of well-being, both physical and mental. But the good question to ask is not what is happiness, but is how can you achieve happiness? You could use the pyramid of Maslow, which isn't a pyramid actually, if you want to learn about what could make you happy. Maslow divided it in 5 needs that you will have as a human. The physiological need that cover basically breathing, feeding yourself, or even drinking. Then there is safety and security, love and belonging, self-esteem, and if you manage to have those 4 needs fulfilled, you will be able to do what is calling self-actualization. Keep in mind this is only a theory of how you could achieve happiness. There are a lot more of other theories, but what you can learn from this one is that you can't achieve happiness by yourself. You need to understand what your surrounding and our environment will do for you and how it will interact with your quest for happiness.
For me, a really important point of happiness is being able to project yourself into a near future. From being able to foresee what you are going to be eating tonight, to being able to know that you will survive the winter because you have sufficient food intake, is something that can bring you peace. It's just like safety in Maslow theory.
I think happiness is really interesting in human because it's heavily related to your ability to dream. Because to find happiness or to maintain it, you will have to get really creative, and this is one of the core specialty that humans have. If you link both of those ideas, the idea that you can dream to find your happiness and Maslow theory, you have something that's really help you understand any human on earth. Basically, we all will have a bunch of needs that we need to have fulfilled to find our happiness, and we are all going to dream about a path that will help us fulfill those needs.
For a long time, my dream was my job, was to become a researcher, was to be accomplished in what I was doing in my everyday life, was to be doing something meaningful. And at one point in my life, I kind of had a crash because I wasn't happy. I didn't know how to be happy. My goal in life wasn't to be happy, it was to become a researcher. So I had to learn happiness. It took a few years, and actually it kind of ate up a bit of my studies, because rather than spending my few bachelor years learning for my bachelor, I spent a lot of time learning about myself, because I was struggling with depression at the time, and later on a big burnout. To truly be happy in life, you need to choose happiness. If you don't cultivate happiness, you won't harvest happiness in return. It's as simple as that. If you don't want to be happy, you won't be happy. That's why I truly believe that happiness should be a life goal. One thing to keep in mind is that your dream can evolve over time. My dream to become a researcher evolved into my dream to be happy. From this point on, my choices in life changed drastically, because my dreams weren't the same. This led me to abandon my studies, despite the fact that I've been dreaming to complete them since I was a child, and to try building my new solar punk future with Azrod.
Okay, so now I'm supposed to talk about different axes. So psychological, biological, physiological, and philosophical. So first the psychological, which is great because I used to do psychology. So I already talked about Maslow's theory. What's really interesting is that it was those works that were used by Rogers later on to develop a really different way of looking at psychology of human. Beforehand, we mostly thought about what was wrong, the sickness, and everything that was studied and based on psychoanalysis, which was mostly about curing symptoms and making people healthy again. But that begs the question, what is mental health? What is a healthy mind? How can someone be considered healthy if they are not happy even? This also begs the question, if there are so many depressed young in our current days, can we really say that we have a healthy population? To summarize, if you don't feel good in your head, then you're unhappy. So, physiological axis is actually really dumb but obvious. You need to feel happiness, otherwise you will just die. Because if the circuits that give you a reward every time you do something that is good for your body don't work, you just die. This is also something that you can see if you think about depression and depressed states as a sickness of the mind expressed by the body. Your body will enter a sleep kind of mode, you will have less energy, you will have less thing that you want, and it can often be correlated to either an unhealthy environment or just you being sick.
Something really fun that you may practice is that physically smiling will make you, like, for real, happier. It's like hormonal stuff, science shit.
And last but not least is the philosophical axis. The first one to really make me question what was happiness was the Epicurean approach, which is saying something because Epicure was a really prolific writer of his time, whom we only have a few texts left, unfortunately. And he was also one of the first big thinkers to ask the question of how someone can achieve happiness. I really like its approach, but I won't go into the details because this is not the subject of the video. Another example you can have is the philosophical work of Nietzsche. His work really ate me when I was a depressed teenager, because the idea that you can find happiness even in your deepest misery is something that really resonated with me at the time.
We discussed different aspects in which you can interact with happiness. From your biological, physical, and psychological needs, happiness can be found everywhere. So, what is happiness and why you should choose it as a life goal? Happiness is a state of well-being that develops over a period of time, and with all things we discuss, if you don't really want to choose to be happy in life, I think we can agree that you're fucked up, but hey, it's your life. But personally, I would say that choosing happiness is something that will make you happy. Now let's move on to some tips to help you be happy in your everyday life. First thing off, if you want to be happy, start smiling. You will see it will help, even if it's sarcastical at best, at first. Second thing, meditate. Try to develop a state where in your head you can feel warm, secure, and you won't be irritated by your own voice criticizing you. And the third advice, which might be the one that most helped me, is to think of 3 things that are positive in your day. It can be you like the ground you're walking on. It can be you like the fabric of your clothes. It can be you like the family you have and the people that loves you. And it will help change your mindset every day.
Fun fact, we have a lot more of negative information in our everyday life in the modern world, and this could be a factor of unhappiness. For example, you are most likely to be exposed to negative information such as war, famine, sickness. Even COVID recently was a really bad news. That climate change as well, of course. So all of those information will imprint your brain and your mind, and you will feel mostly bad because this is what your brain is used to.
To pair with the fact that in our modern society, most feedback we get from school, from our work, from things that we like, are negative feedback. such as you are not good enough for that, you weren't quick enough to give these files back to me.
We're grateful you watched this video.
We love you and appreciate you, and we're sure you will do great in life. Bye.